Rumble. Who's a good boy? Good morning, everybody. So today we have a 2000 Toyota Sienna CE. So what's going on with this one? I'll bring you guys down here. Do you see that lug nut? It's on the stud, but it doesn't come free because the stud, the guides from the back have completely worn out. So we're gonna go ahead, remove this whole assembly. We're gonna remove the knuckle, we're gonna take the bearing out, we're gonna replace it with a new bearing and a new hub. That way he could have all 5 lug nuts. Well, let's get to it. So first off, we gotta jack up the car. We got our jack. We're gonna find our jacking point. We're gonna go ahead and jack it from the center. Already have the handbrake applied. Please apply the handbrake. We're gonna go ahead and jack it up, place our 2 jack stands under each side, and then we're gonna go ahead and take off that wheel. At least try. So we found our center jacking point. You see that little bump right there in the subframe? That's where we're gonna go ahead and jack it from. Now that we have the car jacked up nice and high, we're gonna go ahead and put in the jack stands. Now that our jack stands are in place, we're gonna go ahead and lower the jack just a little bit. We're gonna leave it as a support. Now we have our jack stands holding our car and our jack being a support right here in the front. We're gonna go ahead and remove the wheel now. So here we have our wheel. It's gonna be a 21mm socket. I have that right here. I'm gonna grab my electric impact. We're gonna zap these off. Make that one more. So this one, we're gonna go ahead and try to pull the wheel at the same time we're taking off the lug nut. That way we apply pressure and the lug nut can possibly come out just like that. Now what we got to do, we're gonna remove our rotor, we're gonna remove our brake caliper, we're gonna remove our shock, our axle, our tie rod, and our lower control arm, at least the ball joint right here. First we're gonna start off with the caliper here. So it is gonna be a 17mm that holds the bracket there up top, and we have another one down here below. So we're gonna go ahead and loosen that up and take that out. We're gonna remove this whole thing together. That way we don't have to dismantle just the caliper and then the bracket. That's one loose. That's 2. Now we have the 2 bolts out. We have them right here. I'm gonna go ahead, remove our caliper. See, and now we don't have to worry about anything but this by itself. You can even decide to take out the pads if you like. Might make things easier. That way you don't have to deal with them getting in your way. I'm just gonna place those off to the side and place this up here for now. Let it just kind of hang there. Next, what we're gonna remove our axle nut. We're gonna take our impact gun. If you don't have an impact gun, you can use a giant breaker bar, giant ratchet, but you just need someone before you remove this brake caliper to be pressing on the brakes. That way this doesn't turn with the axle. There it goes. Cool. Now that we have this free, I'm gonna just place that on a little bit. We're gonna give it a tap. So now that we know it's coming out of the actual hub assembly, we could just leave that there for now and we could focus on our other parts. It's as simple as that. Comes right out. All right guys, so next what we're gonna remove this little bracket that's holding our brake line to the caliper. That way we have more access to move it up and around so we don't cause any damage. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this 12mm nut. It's out. This is free. Make sure we don't lose our washer with our nut. Place that there on the floor. So look at that, we have our brake line free. We can move our caliper up and over. I'm gonna place that in there. Maybe this way. That way it is out of our way. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the bolts that hold us to the shock. And that's gonna be a 22mm socket. We're gonna go ahead and zap that off with our impact. So for now, we're gonna go ahead and leave this bolt here just so it holds everything in place. We're gonna loosen up our tie rod, take out our speed sensor, loosen up our ball joint here from the bottom. That way we can continue and get this out of the way. There we go, it's coming through and it is out. That's out. Place it with the rest of our bolts. So what we go ahead and do, we just grab our hammer, we hit the side right here to loosen up this ball joint. We're gonna go ahead and do that. And loosens right up. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the castle nut. Take out our tie rod, just set that to the side. Now we can move on to our lower control arm. So we're gonna go ahead and remove the nuts to our lower control arm ball joint just to separate this from the actual lower control arm so we don't have to deal with these back bolts. So they are gonna be a size 17mm. Go ahead and do that now. The only thing left, we're gonna remove our speed sensor. So our speed sensor is gonna be a little 10mm there. That should be able to pop right out. And we'll go ahead and remove that now. So I have my extension, I have my ratchet, I have my 10. I'm gonna go ahead, crack that loose. It's not too difficult. 10mm is out. Speed sensor came out. Let's go ahead and show you. Speed sensor is out. Move this little clip, let it hang off to the side. And now the last thing to do is remove this bolt. Just move it out of its place. We already removed the nut. And we're gonna pull this whole knuckle out. We're gonna go ahead and just zap that out. Now that's out. Make sure this axle is nice and loose. So it can actually rest here on the floor, as you guys can see. And go ahead, move this from here. Remove this from our axle. Now we're gonna go ahead and take this to our local parts store, Napa Auto Parts. They're gonna press out this wheel hub and bearing and put in a new one for us.